All right. Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the Talent Trellis podcast. I'm your host, Paul Drake Verge, aka Pavlodark Nufuk from Ukraine. And today we have the privilege of hosting a truly inspiring entrepreneur and innovator in the field of women's health technology. Our guest is Parnian Majd, the founder of Fibra, a groundbreaking company that's reshaping the way women interact with their reproductive health. Born in Iran, a place where discussing women's health is often seen as taboo, Parnian's journey is not just one of business success, but also of breaking barriers and challenging societal norms. Her vision led to the creation of Fibra, which offers patent-pending smart underwear for women, providing reproductive health and fertility data in the most non-invasive, accurate, hassle-free, and convenient manner. Parnian's academic prowess shines through her master's degree in biomedical engineering from the University of Toronto, coupled with an entrepreneurship certificate from Harvard Business School. Her work has been recognized through prestigious accolades such as the 2022 EY Woman in Tech Award and a nomination for the 2023 DMC Woman of the Year Award. Today, we'll dive into Parnian's incredible story from her early life in Iran to leading a Iran, right? Iran. Sorry. Sometimes it's also my accent shines through a little bit in there.
It's okay.
Leading a tech-forward company in Canada. We'll explore the challenges she's faced, the milestones she's achieved, and how her work is making a significant difference in women's lives. Join us as we unravel the journey of Parnian Majd, a visionary entrepreneur empowering women worldwide with the technology and information. Let's get started. Parnian, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi, Paul. Thanks for having me today. I'm very excited to be on this episode and talk about my journey, about Fibra, and tell you all about everything that where everything started.
Fantastic. Let's just jump right into it. Can you share with us what it was like growing up in Iran, especially regarding the cultural attitudes towards women's health and how that shaped your early life perspectives?
Yeah, for sure. First things first, Iran is a very beautiful country with a rich culture, with very nice and hospitable people. The food is extremely delicious. The culture is very beautiful. And everyone is very well educated there. The literacy rate in Iran is actually more than 90%. And everyone that you meet are either studying master's or PhD or have 2 PhDs. So everyone is very, very well educated. And so going back to my life of actually growing up there, I was a woman. I was born and then it got mixed with I'm a woman. So yeah, let's just cut this after. So I'm a woman myself who was born in Iran, and we came to Canada when I was 14, 15. And similar to so many other countries around the world, unfortunately, the topic of women's health is very taboo. Mm-hmm. It's not just specific to Iran, it's the story of so many other countries, which is very heartbreaking. So the matter of women's health is a very taboo topic, and specifically women's health and sexual and reproductive health. And growing up, I saw female individuals around me, like friends, relatives, who they always had to sort everything that was related to the reproductive health in private. And they would even shy away from talking about it in front of their dad, their brothers, or I remember vividly, my cousins would even shy away from showing their period cramps and the pain that they are in front of their dad or their brothers. And I always I was always this shouldn't be like that. And we why should we be ashamed of that? Why should we treat it as if this is something secret, or it's a very sort of private thing. It's not, it's your physiology. So you have to be okay with talking about it with your dad. Mm-hmm. So that had a really huge effect on me. And then that sort of laid the foundation of me wanting to sort of change this taboo. And so I started Fibra years after that experience. We started Fibra with the mission to break this taboo and empower women to have access to the right information regarding their reproductive health, their sexual health at the right time in the comfort of their home. So that with that knowledge, then they can decide what they want to do. Or they can be diagnosed with diseases as early as possible. And if something is wrong, if they're feeling a pain or a burning sensation or anything, they don't have to wait until it's too late for them to go to the doctor. Like they have all the information at the tip of their finger.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that from your experience when you moved to Canada, do you think the taboo around reproductive women's health is generally the same as it was in Iran, or is it a little bit less?
It's a little bit less, obviously, but there is still a lot of work that should be done even in Canada as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that work is actually us starting by talking about it, and us talking about menopause, talking about contraceptives for women, talking about menstrual cycle, vaginal discharge, all of that. And the more we talk about it, the more publicly, the more we're breaking those taboos.
For sure. And I think you were saying earlier that in Iran, it's almost taboo, and there's a lot of like shame associated with it. Yeah. And I think it's very interesting that the only way to kind of eliminate shame, whether that be from your own personal life or from, say, like topics such as this, is to really talk about it, is to get it out. Because in my opinion, shame is like a very controlling emotion. Mm-hmm. If someone makes you feel shameful, you're much more likely to do what they say to get rid of that shame. Yeah. So exactly. So it's almost like, so breaking through the taboo barriers is also like a way of like liberating women to be much more open to, I guess, other things as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, like the more you talk about it, the less shame you're gonna have towards that. Mm-hmm. And to begin with, honestly, you don't have to have any shame. It's your physiology. It's women's body. And as I said, I've seen cousins of mine, friends of mine, family members of mine, who they had to even they were so ashamed that they wouldn't even show their period pain in front of their brothers, their dad, because they didn't want them to know that they are on their period, for example. But yeah, it's definitely shouldn't.
Fascinating how you said they hid it, because from what I understand about shame thrives in the darkness. Shame thrives in the, like you said, if you're hiding it. Shame is something very, very personal. It's something you keep to yourself, right?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting how that the only way to get rid of it is to speak it out. Yeah. And then once you speak it out, it's not as bad, right? So talk us through, you decided you came here and then you went and you did you got your degree in biomedical engineering. That is absolutely insane. I cannot imagine that. So what inspired you to do that?
To study biomedical engineering. Yeah. So a portion of that is because I was always fascinated with biology. I was always fascinated with physics, and I loved mathematics. So combining all of that together, it was then that I was like, so biomedical engineering might be interesting for me to pursue. And then I did, and I fell in love with it. Like I enjoyed all of my courses. I really enjoyed learning about everything that's related to wearable devices, to sensors, to even CT scans, MRI machines, anything related to medical devices. And I fell in love with it. Like I loved it. And yeah, so that's everything. That's where everything got started. But then a small portion of that also goes back to the fact that in Iran, everyone is either a doctor or an engineer or like a lawyer. So growing up, that also had it's like a small effect on me, but it wasn't the main reason that I started it. The main reason was because I loved mathematics, I loved biology and all of that. And
were your parents very supportive of your pursuit of education in all these fields? And because I know that it's very difficult for certain parents, from certain immigrant parents, especially mine, because I'm Ukrainian as well. It's very difficult for immigrant parents to understand the concept of like, hey, I want to go out on my own and start my own thing instead of becoming, like you said, a doctor or an engineer, as my mom had me as well. So, and how were they towards you in that kind of respect?
That's a very good question, actually. And my parents have always been very supportive, and I'm very thankful for that. So yeah, they've always been very supportive, and even even when I was in my second year of undergrad or like my first year of undergrad, I didn't even know what entrepreneurship is. But my mom would always tell me that it's okay. My mom and I would talk, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do after graduating and all that. Maybe I don't want to go and work at a firm or something. But my mom was always like, maybe you can have your own business. And I would have been like, no, that's insane. Like, I don't have, I'm not studying business. I don't have a business degree. I don't know how to run a business. Like, I don't have money. I don't have experience. I don't, like, specifically, I don't have the money to to start that business.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, like, she planted the seed in my mind that maybe having a business is not a bad idea. But even at the time, I had no idea what entrepreneurship is. But then fast forward to my 4th year of undergrad, I found a job at one of the offices on campus. And their main focus is actually coming up with strategic initiative for the different incubators that Toronto Metropolitan University has, including DMZ, which is a very famous one, including so many other incubators. And then that was my very first exposure of what entrepreneurship is. And I got to talk with a lot of entrepreneurs who were female, who were current students, who were really like me. And I noticed that I don't have to be like a 50-year-old male individual with like $1 million in my bank account to be able to like start my business.
Interesting. So being able to see someone similar to in a position of you inspired you to go forward. And I want to go back to something that you said a little bit earlier. You were talking about how it was you were having all these thoughts. I don't know how to start a business. I didn't go to school for it. Were those thoughts fueled by fear? Or do you think, or
lack of knowledge, actually.
Lack of knowledge.
It wasn't fear at all. It was lack of knowledge in a way that I didn't know, first of all, what entrepreneurship is. And second of all, like what you actually need to have to start your business. Before, I thought that you need to have like as I said, like $1 million in your bank account with a lot of experience. And then you're able to start a business, and also you need to have like a business degree. But then when I started working at that office, one of the very interesting and fascinating facts that I came across after analyzing a lot of data from the incubators was that actually only 20% of the founders have a business degree.
Yeah.
And the majority of them have either arts or engineering degree and all of that. So that was very interesting.
So it's almost, so seeing someone similar to you almost gave you permission in itself, which is very interesting. So it's like, it's very good for anyone watching. If you think you can't do it, find someone like you, and then that's just like dissolved, right?
Yeah.
So what inspired you to transition from biomedical engineering background to starting your own company? I know we talked about this a little bit earlier. It was a part of your mom influence. She may have planted that seed. But really, what really made you kind of dive right into it, especially in women's health technology?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I remember that I was in my 4th year. Sorry. I was having my part-time job on campus. And so I already had an exposure to entrepreneurship. And then I was in that lecture and the prof was talking about sensors, was talking about having sensors knitted within the fabric and having clothings that have the ability to sort of take your vitals, to monitor your vitals, to even diagnose you with cancers in the future, or even have therapeutic effects. And there is also, so that was very fascinating for me. And there's also an organization in Canada, which is called University Health Network, or UHN. They are one of the biggest hospital networks in Canada. And soon we're going to be partnering with them to do a lot of R&D. And they have one of the largest research groups, again, in Canada, which is called KITE. And one of their focus is smart textile and functional fabrics. And when you go on their website, and I remember like in that lecture when they were talking about KITE, they were talking about the research group and all of that. I went on their on KITE's or Fiber website on UHN, and they have a quote where they say, "Imagine a world where socks treat bladder issues, and t-shirts stop heart attack, and pants help people walk." And imagine that world for a second. Like you have socks that treat bladder issues, or it's very well, theoretically and technology wise, they have like a nerve stimulation in the socks. So it sort of tingles your muscle at the back of your feet, and that nerve is actually linked to your bladder. So that's how it's distracting your bladder. And like on a very high level, that's how it operates. But it's very interesting. Like your everyday clothing in the future is going to be even able to detect any type of cancer as early as possible. Like having bras which would detect breast cancer in women, or having as UHN have on their website, having t-shirts which is going to stop heart attack. Not only like diagnosing that, but stopping that as soon as possible. So that was very fascinating for me. And that's a very, that it's going to be very revolutionary for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I was in that lecture and the prof was talking about smart textile, UHN, research and all of that. And all of a sudden I was like, so why not have a smart underwear to maybe like have like a skin temperature sensor in it, and it detects ovulation accurately. And then women can use that for contraceptives in the future. And so that then women don't have to go with super invasive options of IUDs, with hormonal pills, or even rely on their inaccurate apps to tell them if they are fertile or not, to then avoid pregnancy. And these were all of the problems that I, as a woman, was facing when it comes to contraceptives. And not just me, but also every single one of my friends, they were also experiencing the same problem with contraceptives. IUDs, it's super, super invasive. Pills, hormonal, you don't want to put extra hormones within your body.
I can't even imagine, right? There's so many side effects for that too, from what I'm reading about.
And so I started hypothesizing, and I wanted to sort of come up with a solution for contraceptives. Now, a couple of side notes and sort of a disclaimer. Even though that we want it to be a contraceptive product, we are not a contraceptive product today. And we are a fertility tracking product to help women get pregnant. At this time, women should not use our product for contraceptives. So that's a disclaimer that I wanted to make clear. So we're not a contraceptive at all. But then in the future, there is a possibility of having a product similar to ours provided by Fibra, which is specifically for contraceptives. But today, our product is to help women get pregnant, and it's directly towards fertility. And also another side note was that our patent pending technology today is much more advanced than just having the skin temperature sensor in it. But in terms of the origin story, this is where everything started for us. And we even chose the name Fibra because Fibra in Spanish means fiber. And we're dealing with a lot of functional fibers, with a lot of functional fabrics. And this is how we are making the sensors, actually.
That's actually exactly what I was going to ask. I was going to say, like, walk me through Fibra, because it's Fibra, not Fibra, right? Fibra, right?
Fibra.
Like zebra, Fibra.
Exactly.
Is that what you have in the logo, like the zebra print on it? Walk us through that. Why did you put the zebra on? It's very interesting.
I love this question. Yeah. So first of all, Fibra rhymes with zebra.
Yep.
And then if you pay attention to the pattern of a zebra, you have the white pattern, you have the black pattern. And then in a way, it's like you have a fabric that's made up of normal fiber and the functional fibers that we have. So it's a combination of like two different types of pattern in one structure, which is very similar to what we have.
Oh, okay. And is it the fiber with the technology, or is it the technology with the fiber? You know, if it's a black with white stripes, or white with black stripes. Interesting. And okay, so Fibra, that makes much more sense, because I was wondering why Fibra, but that makes sense if it's like fiber in Spanish.
Yeah.
Can you explain to us? So one other thing. So it looks to me like you went down the journey of, I think, of a lot of entrepreneurs where you solved your own problem. You had a problem and you solved it for yourself.
I wanted to solve it for myself. Again, a disclaimer, we are not a contraceptive whatsoever. We are a fertility tracking product. So women can track their fertility and get pregnant with that knowledge. And I'll get to that in a second as to why that data is important when women are trying to get pregnant. But and we can get to that in other questions that you're going to be asking. But yeah.
For sure. Can you please explain to us how Fibra's smart underwear technology works and what makes it a game changer in women's reproductive health?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, the impact that we're going to have with the product is very huge. And regarding fertility by itself, every month of all the people and couple who are trying to get pregnant, 80% of them fail, which is a very huge number.
Really?
It's 80%, so it's 8 out of 10.
Because in my sphere of influence, I'm hearing on movies, kids in university are getting pregnant all the time. So I thought it's easy to get pregnant. It's not?
It's not.
Interesting.
It's not. Unwanted pregnancies are definitely a problem as well when it comes to kids at universities. But when we're talking about couples who are trying to get pregnant, and if you pay attention to sort of movies that are out there, for example, Brooklyn Nine-Nine or Grey's Anatomy or even Friends, they all touch about the fact that how hard it is to actually get pregnant. And yeah, so going back to that, 80% of people who are trying to get pregnant, they fail every month. And that's very interesting very interesting that you also mentioned that as well, because growing up, you're always told, be careful to not get pregnant. Be careful to not get pregnant. Now, you're at an age that, and a stage in your life that you want to get pregnant, and you're trying and trying every month, and you're failing. And that's very frustrating, both mentally, and it sometimes actually takes a toll on your marriage. And then if you're a female identifying individual, you have to wake up every morning, pee or spit on a stick, or even worse, insert something into yourself to get that ovulation data, or to see if today is the day for you to try or not. And in the early days of Fibra, we talked with 600 women who are trying to conceive, and almost all of them told us, we live in the 21st century, so why the heck do we have to wake up every morning, pee on something, or insert something into ourselves to get that data? And I totally agree with them. That's just ridiculous. Now, what we are doing is that we are using smart textile technology, which, as I mentioned, it has sensors knitted within the fabric or functional fibers and all of that. And we are incorporating that within the design of the underwear, which, by the way, is not even going to be noticeable by the user. It's going to be as comfortable as
this
any
is
other
a question
underwear.
too I had too.
Yeah.
I was like, is there gonna be a battery box, and it's
not at all.
It's gas powered.
No.
It's humming with gas.
No, oh my god, no. No, not at all. Everything is so sort of immersed within the design of the underwear, within the fibers, within the fabrics, that you're not even going to notice it.
Is it almost like nanotech of sorts?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's woven into the finer. So it's I'm trying to imagine, is it wires interlaced with normal fibers?
So don't think about it as wires. Think about it as conductive yarns or conductive threads that are acting like wires. And
you don't have to charge it, do you? Or do you charge it? How does it work?
You have to charge it, but yeah, so we're coming up with solutions for that, but you have to charge it. But there are so many other ways that you can sort of disconnect a portion of that, put it in the part that's responsible for the battery, charge it, and then put it back on. Yeah,
I was gonna say even nowadays, because there's so much technology with even your iPhone, you can put it on a thing. So it's almost as a second product to Fibra, you guys can sell I was thinking a dresser, but the dresser has something on it where it charges it.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And then, so then we have all the sensors that are incorporated within the design of the smart underwear to take these biophysical data. And then essentially what happens is that women would only need to wear the underwear on specific nights per month. They go to bed, and while they are asleep, it takes data from their body, does all the interpretation, analysis, and prediction. And then when they wake up in the morning, they see all the data within their app. Super easy, hassle-free, non-invasive, and accurate, because we're getting data from their body. And when you're going through the trying to conceive journey, the timing is everything. And having access to the accurate data about when is the best time to conceive results in you getting pregnant much faster. Essentially, you're optimizing your pregnancy chances every month with that data. And the more accurate that data is, the higher your chances for that month.
You mentioned you and your team spoke to about 600 women. And I have a question. This is my personal question about this. Do you find, so you spoke to women who were trying to get pregnant. Did you also speak to them after they got pregnant, for example?
No, it was during their trying to conceive journey.
Got it. Because my question is, I have this theory. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Do you think there's a correlation between like the more importance a couple places on being pregnant, the less likely it's going to happen?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
We didn't dive deeper into that at the time, but there are studies that actually shows like stress and anxiety and like you having negative thoughts about that is actually going to have physical impact on your ability to actually achieve pregnancy. And that was very interesting. And I've heard stories from other people. I've heard stories from one person who said that one of their friends, they were trying for pregnancy for 5 years.
Wow.
Naturally, they didn't try anything, like they didn't try IVF or anything. They tried naturally for 5 years. And then they were exhausted all the time. They were tired. They were just done with it. And they were like, okay, that's it. Let's just not try.
And then it happened.
Yeah, like the next month it happened. So the stress really plays an important role. Yeah.
The reason I asked that question is, and this is going to be like, I'm just going to say, this is going to sound a little crazy, but so basically what I've learned is like, so we're all like physics-based. We're all physics-based beings. Things in the universe tend to go towards equilibrium, right? That's why like if there's change in air pressure, like wind helps it, right? If there's change in heat, everything's trying to always go into equilibrium balance. So I read this interesting thing that the reason the more you want something, the more importance you place on it, what it's actually doing is like, you're placing like what's happening is you're creating like this excess potential, like this in your energetic field, this excess potential. And then these balance forces of the universe come and they have to like basically get rid of them. And the easiest way to get rid of it usually is to eliminate the desire. So
interesting.
So it's almost like they'll come in, and because the more you want it, the easiest thing to do is like for you not to have it, which is why, and it's very interesting how it works. And then like as soon as you place zero importance on something, that's when you achieve the result. It's almost
very
like
interesting.
The more you want something, the more importance you need to have it. It's like the best way I had to describe is like, imagine you're at a wedding and you don't want to be kicked out of the wedding. But you're screaming, I hate how much I don't want to be kicked out of the wedding. I can't believe the wedding's here. I don't want to be kicked out.
Yeah.
Naturally, like on an energetic level, someone comes and kicks you out.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's interesting how it all works, but especially because they stopped.
Yeah.
And then it happens. So it's like the less importance you place on something, the more it's going to happen.
I've heard many stories about that actually, like similar to that. The energy level, and you putting pressure on something definitely has an effect, and not just for the trying to conceive journey, but for anything else in your life. Sometimes it has a positive effect, honestly, but sometimes the negative effect is
exactly
there as well.
Yeah. And it's the same thing I'm noticing. Like I noticed for myself, the more importance I place on a sale when I'm in a sales call, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, it can't. Then it does. It's so weird.
Exactly.
It's so
because like you're much more relaxed and you're at a very relaxed state and your mind can release its full potential.
Yeah.
And that's very important.
Yeah. Interesting, Parnian. And how do you think Fibra is contributing to breaking cultural taboos around reproductive health for women, both in Iran and globally?
So the very first thing is, as I said, we are talking about it boldly and bluntly and unapologetically. And so every conference that I go, everywhere we go, we talk about women's reproductive health, menopause, STDs that are specific for women, bacterial vaginosis, all of these conditions, and how our product has the ability to detect all of these in the future. Not today again, it's fertility, but then in the future. And I've had women who would come to me after my talks in different conferences saying, oh my God, I loved how boldly you were talking about contraceptives. You were talking about postpartum monitoring. And I love the fact that you didn't shy away from that, and the fact that we had like the 80% of the audience was male individuals, and he didn't shy away from that. He just like went ahead and addressed that. So the very first thing that we are doing is, again, by talking about it, and we had to sort of start within our team members, and making the female team members be comfortable about talking about their reproductive health in front of male team members, and not shying away or not feeling uncomfortable when they are talking about, for example, like vaginal discharge, the pH of that, like the biomarkers within it. And it can be a little uncomfortable, obviously, but again, the more you talk about it, the more you're, as we said earlier, like the more you're taking that like shame like out of that in a way.
Yeah, because shame is like, exactly, it's hidden, it's by itself, but then once it's revealed, it's like, wow.
And today, like whenever we're talking about it within our team, with the male individuals, female individuals, it's just a very normal thing. Like it's as if we were talking about anything else.
Yeah, Parnian's sitting here and she mentioned vaginal discharge. I'm smiling a little bit, but it's because specifically because it's not said too much. It's a little, it's just kind of a funny word,
but it shouldn't be.
It's kind of a funny word. It's not, like it's. I know what you mean. But that's part of the. Exactly. That's part of what you're trying to do, right? Because maybe before I would have been like, oh, okay, but now it's like, okay, well, at least I'm cracking a smile, Because it's exactly, cool. Amazing. So I want to talk a little bit more about some of the achievements that you've had. So reflecting on your achievements, like the EY Women in Tech Award, how do these recognitions impact your mission and your vision for Fibra? And maybe you can talk a little bit more about the Tech Award as well and how you received it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So I remember when I was receiving that, and actually after I received it, I had to give a speech. And I was very emotional because I had just come back from a vacation from Iran, and I witnessed how many talented females over there are working so hard to achieve their dreams. And it's so difficult for them to achieve it because of so many factors. And nobody recognizes their work and efforts, and it broke my heart. And it's getting much better these days, but there is still a level of systemic sexism, a level of, and again, the fact that they don't get appreciated enough for their efforts. And then there I was, and I was given the opportunity to achieve my dreams, and I was getting recognized for that. And that was a very sort of bittersweet moment for me. And that was one of the most inspiring moments of my life as well. And I was like, I'm given the opportunity, and I'm going to sort of change the status quo or break the taboo for women's reproductive health and give them something that they can have access to their data at the tip of their fingers at home. Now, in terms of the potential of our product for the future, and I think I'll get back to that in a second actually, but with the data that we are getting from women's bodies, the first use case and today's use case of the product is fertility, obviously, and helping them get pregnant. But then in the future, we're gonna with all the proprietary sensors that we have, we're gonna be able to then tell them as soon as possible if they're pregnant, so that they can go ahead with it however they like to proceed. And then do pregnancy monitoring, postpartum monitoring, contraceptives, menopause, or even alerting women and girls if they've been exposed to any reproductive system diseases. All of that is going to be possible with our unique smart underwear. Of course, we have to change some of the sensors here and there, change the algorithm here and there for different conditions and steps. But imagine that for your daughters, for granddaughters, for your mom, for your sisters, for your nieces, and that's gonna have a huge impact on how they are going through their reproductive journey for sure. Understood.
And what advice would you have to young women and inspiring entrepreneurs who want to make a difference in fields like technology and healthcare? Or maybe another way to phrase it is, what would you say to yourself when you were younger going through this?
Yeah. So the first thing that I learned throughout my journey was how to be able to properly sell the vision that I have. So the vision that I have is just literally what I just talked about. Us being able to guide women better through the reproductive journey by giving them all of these data within our product. And then being able to properly sell that vision and mission to anyone you come across and get them excited about that vision is the most important thing. That person can be potential investors, they can be your employees and team members, they can be your advisors, or they can be just other female individuals that you know around you who want to be potential customers in the future. Mm-hmm. And being able to convey that vision that you have and again properly sell that vision is very important. Because if you succeed in doing that, then you're not going to have any problem having customers, and you're not going to have any problem landing money to get to a stage that you're ready for customers. So that's the most important thing. And another advice that I have is that you're going to hear a lot of no's. Again, whether it's from investors, from advisors telling you that no, it's not going to work. Like, I've had a lot of investors, actually not a lot, but a few male investors who were like, I don't see the need for this product. Like, why do women have to use this product? Like, I don't see the need for that. And that's unfortunate.
Well, obviously they don't have
exactly. Like, they don't see the need.
They don't have a system, the reproductive system. How would they know?
And I've had investors who in the second meeting told me that, like, okay, like, I went and talked with my wife and she was so interested about this. So there's definitely the knowledge gap that if anyone is interested in women's health, they have to like have a thick skin and not get frustrated about it. Or even like in the meetings that I've had with other individuals, they were like, what is ovulation window? How is it different than like you being on your period? Like, what are the different phases of menstrual cycle? So you have to be very patient in terms of like, you have to educate them first before telling your product.
For sure. I must admit, I know very little.
There we go. But then, yeah, and not just that, but also like having a thick skin of hearing, no, like, I don't want to invest in your company, or like, no, I don't see a future for your product, whether it's related to women's health or not. You're going to hear a lot of no's, and you just have to like power through that. Yep.
And what gives you the strength to power through that? What is like the why behind it all? What's the driving factor? What's the spirit behind it?
It's the vision that I have. It's the fact that, again, after talking with 600 women and also talking with other women, I've seen how many people would benefit from this, whether we're talking about fertility for today or, again, in the future, every stages that I said. It's the vision and the mission that we have. And that's one of the most important it's something that's very, it has a very positive effect, and it's sort of fueling me up to go through that. I've had women in different conferences who actually male individuals as well, who came to me and they were like, we like, my wife and I have been trying for a year. We finally are pregnant now. And I appreciate the fact that you're working on such a product, because even like the male individual, he was like, I know how helpful this is going to be for other couples when they're going through pregnancy. And it's these sweet quotes that we get here and there, and the feedback that we get here and there from people that is fueling me up, actually. And
you didn't just like go right into developing, right? Like you said, you did your research for it, you validated it for us, you talked to the 600 women too. This is very, very important for all the inspired entrepreneurs. Don't just do something.
Yeah.
Like figure out if it's going to work first. Like do it as cheap as possible. Like you went and you talked to 600 women and you identified the problem and you validated that they needed a solution. You didn't just jump right into it, right?
Yeah, no.
So very important to do that as well. And many people make that a mistake. I've made that mistake. So just do your research. And when you're starting a business, don't think about like, just figure out how to solve that problem first.
And then, and that's the problem with engineers, because engineers are very, they have a very strong problem solving skill.
They're logical, but they don't understand the emotion behind it.
I would debate that, but
or they tend to be more logical.
No, they are very like they have a very strong problem solving skill. And as soon as they find a need and they think that they found a need, they just right ahead with designing the solution for that.
Oh, and not thinking about the business aspect of it.
Exactly. And they have to like validate that problem. And they have to see if the problem that they have in mind is actually a true problem or not before designing everything for that. And then yeah, so that's one of the things. And then it's very interesting that you mentioned this, and I 100% agree with you that you have to always validate the need before jumping into conclusion about the solution. And I've had other young entrepreneurs who actually had a meeting with them a couple of days ago. Very bright, again, engineers. I love their product. I'm not going to talk about their product obviously here because but they told me that they interviewed like 14 people and they wanted to sell to other people as opposed to the characteristics that the 14 people had. And I was like, you have to talk with the people that you want to sell to and not the ones that you think would be interested in your product. Like in a way, their customer group was very broad, and they needed to narrow that by talking with multiple groups of people and see which one would pay for them more.
Yep.
Would pay for the product more. But yeah, validating the need is the most important thing.
Especially, and it's like, yeah, I feel like for engineers, because I have some engineer friends, it's more like, hey, this is clearly a solution to the problem. It's gonna sell itself, but that's not how it works. That's unfortunately not how it works. Like, you have to be able to sell it to people, even for their own good first. It's just like one of the requirements. Can you share any of your personal philosophies or experience that keep you motivated and focused on your goals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So, when I was growing up, I was always one of those overly scheduled kids. Obviously I was at school.
Sorry, just a quick thing. We're at 12:30. We're good for 12:45?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So yeah, I was one of those here. When I was growing up, I was always one of those overly scheduled kids who I was like at school. I was in my middle school, and I was enrolled in so many other extracurricular activities. Like I was enrolled in guitar lessons. I was enrolled in English language classes. I was enrolled in swimming classes, all at the same time. And obviously I had my homeworks as well. And it was a lot. And I remember sometimes like I would talk with my mom and I would be like, most of the other students are not enrolled in this many extracurricular classes. And this is a lot for me. And why are you guys enrolling me in so many classes? And she would always, like, I vividly remember, like, she would always tell me, like, it's okay if no one is doing this. You can be the first one who's doing that. You can be the first one who's enrolled in 3 extracurricular activities or classes, and who's doing good at all of them, and who's doing a good job with our homeworks and classes as well at school. And obviously at the time I was like, no, you're just being like extra, you're being like very strict and all of that. But then that really shaped my mindset to be very resilient and to have this mentality that it's okay if nobody else is doing that. Like, I can be the first one who's doing that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And when I first started fundraising for Fibra, talking with investors, obviously it was one of one of the most challenging things when you have your startup and you want to talk with the investors, because obviously you're asking for their money, right? You have to. It's a very challenge. It's not a very challenging conversation, but it's a very, compared to other conversations and processes that you're going to go through when you have your own startup, this one is one of the toughest one.
Yeah, because exactly.
Yeah, and oftentimes investors would tell me, you're a young solo founder, you don't have a co-founder, and you have a hardware company, which
by the way is hard. Not having a co-founder is hard. Trust me, I know. I was a founder originally for my hat business, and now I have 3, and I can't even imagine how you're doing it. It's tough.
Yeah. And then they were like, you're a young solo founder, you don't have a co-founder, and on top of that, you have a hardware company, which, as a side note, it means that it requires so much more resources, both financially and human resource and all of that. You need more resources, you need more money, and there is a long time for you to get to market because you have a hardware company, as opposed to like having an app and just going to market with it after 6 months. So it's all of that, and within this economy, you're going to have a very hard time raising the round that you're raising, and you can be the first. You're raising, and it's going to be very difficult and all that. And I was always like, okay, I understand that this is going to be difficult, but it's okay. Like, I'm going to be the first who's going to raise this round within this economy, young solo founder, hardware company, specifically in Canada. It's a little harder to have your hardware company or deep tech company. But yeah, I was always like, it's okay. Like, I'm going to be the first who's going to do that. And
how do you deal with the loneliness if you have it?
I was actually thinking about it the other day, and I was like, I'm very blessed with having good people around me, both on my team. We are a team of 12, actually. So we have different engineers, different marketing people on the team. So we have team members who are willing to not get paid for 4 months. Still, they come to the office at 8 a.m. They leave at 8 p.m. They are there, they are working. And so I have a lot of, like, knock on the wood, actually. I'm very blessed with having right team members. And also, I'm blessed with having good advisors, because like the other day I picked up the phone, I called one of our advisors, and I was just literally like venting to him, and I was like, this is just so annoying. The product is not working. The sensor is not working. Everything is frustrating, this and that. And that was at 10 p.m. at night. And he just listened to me. He told me, like, do this. Like, he was like, I understand this is a very frustrating situation. You can do this. You can do that. Maybe try pursuing this route. Try sort of pursuing the other route. And after that, I was like, and he was like, listen, you're not the only one who's going through that. I've talked with other founders as well. They have the same problem. So it was very sort of good to talk to someone who understands you and who's willing to sort of pick up the phone and answer you at 10 p.m. and listen to you.
So you have that connection. You have that connection, what kind of helps with the loneliness or the aspect.
Exactly.
Because you kind of are, like, you're a trailblazer. Obviously, you're the first one, which is difficult. It's difficult because it's like when you're bushwhacking, the first one at the front whacking all the bushes, they have to go through the hardest, but then it's easier for other people to go through. But it seems to me you're always been comfortable in that role, because you were always the first to do all these different things.
Exactly. And then, going back to my team members, every time that I was so frustrated about the product not working, I've had team members on my team who were like, don't worry, we're going to figure it out. Like, we're going to figure it out. Don't worry about it. And that's very important. And these are individuals that I said, like, they are willing to not get paid for 4 months straight, and they are still there working on the product. And I think that really goes back to you being able to sell your vision to employees, to everyone that you come across. Understood.
And I just want to mention that Talent Trails has provided a person to her as one of the team members.
And we are very thankful for him. Yeah.
Hamza, this is for you. Great work on your end. Can you give us any sneak peek into any upcoming projects or advancements at Fibra that our audience should look forward to?
Yeah, for sure. So we are very deep into R&D. We are very deep into sort of technical validation phases before going to market with the product. And then in the near future, we're going to be running a pilot study with hospitals in Toronto, and we're going to go to market soon, ideally next year. The audience can find our product in the market, and which reminds me, please visit our website, get on our wait list, and you're going to be the first to hear all about every exciting updates that we have.
So just put it on the screen. Yes. Just make sure to put her socials,
Please do. It's fibrainc.ca.
Fibrainc.ca. Make sure, yes. And got a final question here for you. How do you want Fibra and your personal efforts to be remembered in the realm of women's health and entrepreneurship?
We want Fibra to be women and girls' best friend through every stage of the reproductive journey. A trusted friend that they can rely on, again, on every step of the way when they're going through their fertility, not fertility specifically, but their reproductive journey. And they can rely on the data that they're getting. They can rely on everything that the product is providing to them. And it's a device that non-invasively and in the most comfortable manner, and again, in the comfort of their home, they can have access to the data, again, in the most automated manner. And so we want everyone to remember Fibra as their, again, trusted friend throughout this reproductive journey. And then something else that we want Fibra to be remembered by is, and if we reach that, and I'm sure that we're going to reach that as well, actually, when we reach that stage, I'm going to be very happy and fulfilled and satisfied, is the stage that I want to hear small conversations between girls and women. For example, like, my Fibra told me that pH of my vaginal discharge is this, like I have to go and check the doctor. Like, they
as a matter of fact, about it. Like, just another thing I'm dealing with, no problem.
Yeah, it's like talking about your heart rate or your breathing rate and all that your Apple Watch provides. And yeah, I want to hear that conversation between them in front of their brothers, in front of their dad, like in public places, and they just talk about it. Or even like other insights and that Fibra is going to be providing to them in the future. And even sort of sparking these small conversations here and there to, again, freely talk about their reproductive system and their own physiology without feeling that shame that we talked about. And again, like taking away that, and which is going to take away the shame and which is going to break the taboo.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Parnian, for being on. I would love to hear, first of all, if you have any final thoughts for our listeners, anything you want them to remember, and also where can they find you? What are your socials? I know you mentioned the website. Yeah, just
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of where they can find us, again, fibrainc.ca. We are very active also on sort of publishing blog posts on our website. We talk about different matters regarding women's health, fertility, anything women's health related. And we are partnering with other practitioners within the fertility industry, and we are publishing a blog post with them. So checking our website, checking our blog post would be the best thing. Get on our wait list. And we are very also active on social media. We have an Instagram account, we have a LinkedIn account, and we also have a TikTok account. All of them is called Fibra Inc. And yeah, so just follow us there, follow our journey, and tell your friends, your daughters, granddaughters, or nieces, and your sisters, everyone. Tell them about us.
I will tell my sister for sure.
Yes,
Parnian, thank you very much, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you.